Welcome to another episode of Stay on Retirement Track. Hi, my name is Chris Caldwell with Highland Trust Partners, and I want to thank everyone who is attending this session live. Of course, as we did with the others, we will record this or are recording this, and you can share this with whomever you like. If you have to drop off this one live, obviously you'll have the link to pull up and watch the remainder if you choose to. For those who will be live with us today, our tracking or our chat room will be closed. So questions, you can email me directly or anybody on my team directly, and our contact information will be at the end of this session. So with that, let's get started. A quick disclosure about who we are and the things that we can and can't do per regulations. So now everyone should have a chance to look that over real quickly. We will go into our series topics, and we have covered so far what is saving for retirement. We have covered how do you know if enough's enough, and we have covered what is an appropriate investment strategy. And today we're going to talk about risk. How or when should you reduce your risk as far as saving for retirement or saving in general, investing in general? I get that question probably as much or more than anything else. For these other series, the prior three, if you hadn't had a chance to or didn't have a chance to attend the live sessions for those, or have not watched those videos, they are on our YouTube channel. So you can search Highland Trust Partners in YouTube, and you should be able to find those fairly easily. Or of course, you can send me an email, and I can send you those links also. So let's dive into a little bit about when to reduce your risk as a whole. We've covered this before, but I want to start a little bit about what risk is. Okay, so we're going to look at a risk pyramid real quick, as this PowerPoint slide shows, and you can see on the bottom of the foundation of the pyramid is when things are no risk. That's your cash that sits in the bank, your checking account, your money market, your CDs. Maybe it's some government bonds that you own that when they mature, you get your money back in full. So there's no risk for those investments. Now, those are obviously for people who have what I would always consider short-term savings, emergency needs. They may need to pull money out really quickly for things as when an emergency does happen. They don't need to take a lot of risk, or any risk for that matter. Every one of us, even those who take risk in other things, should have money sitting in that foundation of the pyramid to some degree where they don't have to sell out of a higher risk investment to cover things that may hit them. Okay, so if and eventually, and I'll discuss this in a couple of slides, as you get closer to your goals, as you get closer to the end of the time period that you're saving for, you're going to move down to that foundation with some of that money. And I'll explain that, like I said, again. But as we go up the pyramid, you can see how different types of investments carry different risk. I think most of us know that. And some people say, well, I don't want risk in my life. I don't want risk in my investments. I've never invested before, or I have invested, but I do invest fairly conservatively, lower on that pyramid. When we have conversations with clients, and probably with you at some point, maybe, we have discussed what you need your money to do for you, what is it designed to cover? Okay, what are you saving it for? What's the intent of it at some point in the future? That helps us determine the appropriate risk level for you. I've talked to plenty of clients who are lower risk investors, but after we've gone through the use of the money that they're saving for, they understood that they probably need to put some of that a little bit higher up on that pyramid in the risk. I've talked to investors who are very aggressive, very high risk type people, and have always been that way with their investments. But after conversations, they realize that they probably need to bump some of that down the pyramid, because maybe it's getting closer to the goal they intend it for. Maybe that they just don't have enough in that lower level foundation of that pyramid to protect them in case an emergency arises. So we want to have a deep dive conversation with you, with people, just to understand them really, really well. It's not just about putting money in a portfolio and hoping for the best. It's some people probably do that for their clients. That's not what we do at Highland Trust Partners at all. We're going to really, really understand you. We're going to really understand your personality, what you were taught by your parents, what you believe in. And couples are different. So sometimes we have to work a little bit differently with each one in a relationship, and to make sure that each are getting theirs done the way they're comfortable with. So it's not just about, like I said, throwing darts, shooting for the best, trying to get a return. It's really making sure that how your money is structured and what you're saving it for, that the things that it's invested in, regardless of where it stands on this pyramid, is the appropriate thing. And over time, which is the point of this episode, that's going to adjust. You're going to adjust your risk over time, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. So time's the biggest indicator, well, one of the largest indicators of what we do. You've ever opened an investment account before, in the profile, when you're talking to your advisor, you are asked, what's your time horizon for what you're putting your money in for? We do that too. Of course, we want to know what's your time horizon. And of course, it depends on that particular goal. So let's use retirement, since this is mostly designed for our participants in 401ks, 403b retirement plans. If you are saving for retirement, are you saving for age 65? Are you saving for age 55? Are you saving for age 75? What does retirement really look like in your future? And I know that changes every year, if not for some people within the year. But when we have conversations with you, we're going to ask you those questions. Has that changed for you? And just because you hit that retirement goal, by the way, does not mean you're cashing in your 401k plan or whatever retirement vehicle that you're saving into. That means that may be the point in time you need to start potentially using some of those funds to cover your expenses. Why do we save for retirement anyway, or anything? Because at some point we're going to use it for that intent. So we want to make sure that as you're heading closer to that goal, retirement, if let's say 65 is your number, which it is for a lot of people, just it's in our minds at 65 because Medicare starts at 65 and things such. So if that's your number and it's 66, 65, 66, you're going to have to start pulling down some money out of your retirement account, retirement savings, to help cover your expenses. We're going to want to help you adjust that as you get closer to that date to make sure you're not taking high risk or higher risk that up the pyramid at that time period. Now, if you tell us, and this happens a lot, well, I may retire at 65, but we should be okay, or we're going to live off one of you in the relationship, we're going to live off his or hers for a while until they touch the other, doesn't necessarily mean we're going to drop it all to cash and sit in cash for the next 20 years, okay? It may just be we want to reduce that level some. So everybody's a little bit different. That's why we have to know what your intent is. And again, that's with everything. So whether you're saving for a house, you're saving for a car, you're saving for a child's education, you're saving to help a child with wedding expenses, you're saving for a retirement. Every account needs to have a goal, which includes what is for, what your personality is, what your experience is with investing, what your time horizon is for that goal. And then it is managed for that particular purpose. If you have 3 or 4 accounts with 3 or 4 different intents to that, different goals in each, then we would basically want to have each one managed a little differently because they have different time horizons. They have different, you may need, one account needs to maybe grow more than the others because your goal, because of what you, again, your end intent, what you need it to grow to or to hit that goal. So we're going to want to explore that. We're going to want to talk about it every single year. So for you who don't directly work with us and in your 401k plans, for example, you're kind of doing that on your own, just pay attention to that. Every year, do a checkup on what you're doing. Do a checkup as things change. Ask yourself those questions. Talk to your spouse and make sure that your time horizon is appropriate, that you're in that you feel comfortable with the risk you're taking to get there. And if that's not necessarily matching up, you probably do need to consult with somebody to make sure that it is. Since I mentioned that, make sure your risk is appropriate. We already talked about different things of risk on the pyramid. Here's a sample of you've seen these before. These are questionnaires. You can take this in if you have a 401k, they're built into your profile page or portal where you can actually go in and take a risk assessment, and it's going to tell you kind of where you lie. Again, I've had this with clients and they've been very risk averse and they've fallen into the conservative level, the capital preservation, but realistically they may have 20 years until they need these funds for whatever goal that is, retirement, saving for a house, kids education, whatever. So we want to talk to them and go, okay, now I know your overall personality is that, but this account maybe maybe needs to be a step or two higher to make sure it hits what it needs to hit to make it work for you in the future. It's just open communication. It's knowing where you are. It's having someone who can be an accountability partner for you. That makes people feel more comfortable with their overall risk. Okay. People are really scared when they're by themselves. So just know that if you have a 401k or a participant in a 401k that we help manage, you can contact us. That's part of our job for you. Okay. So don't feel that you're by yourself and on an island and you can't talk to somebody about these things. And I mentioned goals several times. Particularly, I work on an acronym called SMART. SMART means when you set goals, and these are not just goals for finance. These are goals for everything that you do. Going to the gym, losing weight, getting better at a sport, running or golf or whatnot. Anything, spending time with family. You want to have your goals should be specific. They should be definitely detailed to what that is. It should be measurable, which means that you can actually account for what you're doing. They're achievable, which you're not overstepping yourself. A perfect example is I'm trying to be a better runner. And I know what I'm trying to do as far as my time in running a mile or running 10Ks particularly. I know I'm not going to be able to achieve things that a 25-year-old is going to be able to achieve. I'm very cognizant of that. I don't need somebody to tell me. I understand that, right? So it helps me set my goals. They have to be relevant. You have to reward yourselves, or you have to be time bound. So, and which will come to reward. Then I'll explain in a second. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. That's SMART. And how to do it, you got to write them down. Whether you write them on, a piece of paper, or a journal, or you do it on some computer system, you've got to actually write down your goals. You got to track them. Some things have to be tracked daily, some things monthly. If it's retirement savings, you're not going to track that daily and monthly. You're going to track that either semi-annual or annually. You need, again, look at it at least once a year and see how things are going. Particularly, do I change how much I'm contributing? Do I change what I'm invested in? Accountability, most people aren't able to do this, whether you can be accountable to yourself or whether you need to do it with your partner, your spouse, or a child, somebody at work with you, another employee. A lot of people tell me that they kind of team up with a couple employees, friends of theirs at work, and they do this together almost to make sure that they're double checking each other. They may need coaching. That could be like what I just offered with us. If we're in your 401k plan, if you're not a client of ours, you can always call us, or if you're working with somebody else, you need to make sure they can coach you. And reward. You got to be able to reward yourself. I've always said, from kids to coaching, my own kids to coaching other kids, is that when you hit certain levels, you need to give yourself a reward, wherever that is. It's like a cheat day if you do a diet or workout plan. But this is how you set your goals, and what you do how you figure out, again, some of this is going to pick your time horizon, but how you figure out how to invest, your risk you're going to take, and then how to change that over time is based on these goals as you get closer to your goal. Okay. So retirement savings, as you get closer to your goal, if you were higher risk when you were younger, that's not what you're going to do when you're older. And this adjusting risk slide depicts that. Most of us in our 401k plans or retirement plans have target date funds. And what we've explained before, and what you probably already know, is that the further away you are from age 65, the more risk is being taken in these target date funds for you. And over time, they automatically adjust for you. So in clips, 5-year clips, they rebalance and they become more conservative as you get closer to your 65th birthday, if you have it allocated correctly in the right year. So it automatically takes care of that for you. It never goes completely cash at that age. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to slowly adjust the risk that you're taking as you get closer to your date. Now, I've talked to plenty of employees whose risk is adjusting, obviously, and they do these, but they still may need to carry a smidge more risk than this would even do for them because they are behind on their goal. That goes back to SMART. How do you track it? How do you measure it? Are you able to have an accountability partner or coach you can talk to go through these things? You absolutely do need to adjust your risk as you get closer to your goal. We all need to do that, but you have to go back and say, if I'm not tracking my goal appropriately, then I'm not gonna. How do I know what to adjust to? And it shouldn't be related to how the market is doing on any given day. It shouldn't be related to some economic report that comes out in the media that scares us into thinking we need to make some drastic changes in our savings plans. It's understanding who we are, what we're trying to achieve, and having someone to talk to make sure that we're hitting the marks that we need to hit. So that's how we look at adjusting risk for individuals, families, clients, as they age or they get closer to whatever goal they're shooting for. So that's a small tidbit. If you have any individual questions, obviously reach out to us at htp@highlandtrustpartners.com email address. Mine is chris.caldwell at Highland Trust Partners. So you can email me directly, email the firm as a whole. Go to our website. There's some pretty good tools on that. Again, we do have that YouTube channel. If you want to watch the other videos prior to this one, if you're not seeing it, this one will soon post to that as well. And I ask you just to take a look at SMART. Take a look at the things you're trying to do in your life, not just finance, and see if you're able to set goals for yourself and do those kind of things to make you more successful in life. So with that, I'll sign off today. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you in episode 5 in a few weeks or so. Thank you. Bye-bye.